Hello, and welcome to another episode of Ben and Joel Reviews. I'm Ben.
And I'm Joel.
And this is part 2 of mine and Joel's experience of taking part in the school productions. In this episode, we discussed the second school production we did, which was Beauty and the Beast. We recorded these two as one whole episode, but realised it was a little too long.
We were overly ambitious.
Thus, we decided to cut it into 2 parts. So without further ado, please sit back, relax, and let's dive in. Welcome back to today's episode. We're now going to start talking about the second school show that we did, which was Beauty and the Beast.
Beauty and the Beast.
Yes. What were your thoughts when it was announced that that was going to be the school show?
I actually remember being a little bit disappointed.
I was also disappointed.
I can't say I'm the biggest fan of a lot of the Disney musicals. I'm not saying that they're bad, but I think there are definitely better musicals out there. Mm-hmm. And I remember sort of my taste at the time really not aligning with that.
Yeah.
And sort of being reluctant to do it. But weirdly enough, again, similarly as in Hairspray, it was sort of encouraged for my year group to do it because it would contribute towards a grade. And it was a bit of a no-brainer. It's like, okay, if we're going to get graded on something, let's let it be something as cool and interesting as the school musical. And I had an inkling of how I was going to be cast. I had a little inkling, and I was right. I was right. So I ended up playing Maurice, which is a really similar character to Wilbur because it's the inventor dad type.
Yeah, for anyone who doesn't know, Maurice is Belle's father in the story.
So I think I got a little bit typecast.
A little, yeah.
Even in productions that weren't necessarily the school productions, but like, just kind of our year group doing the GCSE shows. A lot of the time, if there was a dad to be played, it was me.
Yeah. Because who did you audition for?
I auditioned for Gaston.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
No, I was very, very aware that I was not probably the best fit for Gaston. Like, I knew it was a long shot, and there were definitely people in that room that were probably better suited to it than me. But I was determined to show that I could do something other than what I'd been typecast as.
I think you would have made a great Gaston.
Oh, I'd appreciate you saying so.
Yeah.
That said, though, the Gaston that did actually get cast was
amazing.
Fantastic.
Yeah, he was
nailed
brilliant.
That casting.
He had so much personality that he brought to it.
And then yourself.
Yeah, so I auditioned for the role of Lumière, who is the French candle. Is it candelabra?
Candelabra.
Candelabra, that's it. And I got the part, which was great, and he was a fun part to play. It took a bit of time to work on the French accent.
Yeah, I mean, I can't imagine it was the easiest thing in the world to achieve. And
I didn't sound French though in the end.
No, you didn't.
Despite how long I'd worked on it, I sounded German.
Yeah. Yes, Beauty and the Beast, the famous German story.
Be our guest!
I can't say what just came to mind then.
Oh no.
Oh dear. It looked like it must have been an interesting part to play, sort of from the outside.
Yeah.
Because Lumière is sort of the linchpin of that entire production. In the sense that he's the one, well, I suppose Lumière and Cogsworth are the ones that sort of divulge a lot of the exposition and are sort of the transitional characters that get Belle and the Beast together, and without that role, the whole story doesn't work. So there must have been a lot of pressure on your shoulders for this one.
A little bit. I'm all, whenever I do any stage production, even today, I'm always nervous, anxious, always. That never goes away. But I don't think I felt as much pressure. I think I had the same. No, in fact, I wasn't as nervous in that as I was in Hairspray. I was way more nervous in Hairspray. But I still had a lot of fun with Lumiere. Now, the actor who played Cogsworth was, again, he was absolutely brilliant. He did nail
Very
it.
well suited to the role.
He was very good. However, I remember thinking at the time, if the teacher wanted to maintain that on-stage partnership, I don't understand why they didn't cast you as Cogsworth.
Yeah, do you know, I'd never even thought of that. Going for Cogsworth was something that never even entered my mind. That would have been interesting.
That would have been great.
Yeah.
I mean, I still loved working with the actor who did play Cogsworth.
Yeah.
And as I said, he was amazing.
Yeah, his vocal work was very good. Yeah, because the roles that we were casting, Maurice and Lumiere, we didn't share a lot of stage time.
We were in one scene.
Yeah, and that I remember that actually making me really sad. We were rehearsing one day, and it was when we had all the set pieces and everything, and I was in the chair, and everyone's crowding around. Oh, it's a man. you know, in the scene, and you were kind of delivering your dialogue, and I remember kind of watching you act and go, I really wish I had more of this in this show. I really wish that we had more time together to actually do more.
Yeah,
because our interactions were so limited.
They were. It really was a shame.
I still loved the production, but I think because of the rapport we had from doing Hairspray, it would have made sense for us to have more time together. But
I think there's literally only one small bit where we actually talk to each other, and it's the part where my character and Cogsworth is first introduced.
Yes.
And you're wandering around the castle, and then you say you hear my voice and you're demanding for them to show themselves.
Yeah.
And I walk up behind you and go,
"Hello." Yeah.
And I think that was it.
Yeah.
I think that was the only moment that you and I actually conversed. I agree. It made me really sad as well.
Yeah. The production was still great though.
Oh yeah.
Although the characters that I've played, Wilbur and Maurice, are they're a named main, but they're not a crucial main.
Yeah.
So a lot of the time in the rehearsal process, they were rehearsing scenes with the main cast that I wasn't in, or they were doing the big numbered set pieces that I wasn't in. And a lot of the time, I found myself sort of at the back of that rehearsal room, just kind of waiting to get used.
Yeah.
And just sort of waiting to kind of get my time to go up into that space and play. Not so much with Wilbur, because I think, if the opportunity arose, we were rehearsing Timeless. So that was better. But obviously you in Beauty and the Beast were sort of in demand. You were in a lot of scenes.
Yeah.
So you were quite sort of at the centre of those big set piece moments and
And of
things
course
like that.
would be our guest, rehearsing that a lot.
Yeah, I can imagine that was a pain.
A little bit, yeah.
But I remember we had two teachers at that point.
We did.
That were quite central to the production.
Yes, we did, yeah.
And the newer teacher, when she was kind of conducting her rehearsals, I remember asking every day, it's like, they'd post a sheet on the office door, for the drama office door, saying, who was required for what days and what scenes were being rehearsed, so you knew if I'm in that scene, I need to be there.
Yeah.
And a lot of the time, my scenes would be up, and then I'd go, but then they'd be doing a larger set piece beforehand, and it would overrun. So then we'd run out of time. So I would have just wasted an hour, 2 hours, just kind of watching. It was nice watching everyone rehearse, but it was a bit frustrating at the same time.
The organisation was kind of all over the place.
Yeah,
a little bit.
It was a bit, and I remember, sort of feeling a little sort of on the sideline, I guess.
Yeah.
For parts of it. Despite still loving the experience. And then I think that led to a lot of my sequences. The wolf scene towards the beginning.
Terrible scene. Not because of you.
Better clarify that, thank you.
No, yeah, sorry.
I was fantastic.
You were. It was the kids that were dressed as the wolves.
Yeah. And then I'll circle back to that. And then there's the song towards the end. Was it From Now On? Or
yeah. Wait, no. Isn't From Now On from The Greatest Showman?
No, yeah, you're right.
Oh, No Matter What?
No, that's the one at the beginning.
Oh.
It's Belle's song later on, where she's returned back to the village just before they show Gaston the Beast, and they're all like, kill the beast. And I remember that scene got so little direction. Just kind of sat off on a bench off to the side.
Yeah.
Because it was only just myself and Belle, they kind of just focused on Belle singing and her, whereas I was just kind of sat kind of awkwardly, not really knowing what to do, because that scene just didn't get rehearsed all that much.
No.
Because it wasn't one of the big set pieces, or didn't have a larger number of the named cast.
Yeah. Speaking of no matter what, so obviously that's another moment with you and Belle.
Yes.
It's a very sweet scene.
Yes.
Between these two characters, and these characters have a musical number, which is called No Matter What.
Yes.
During this performance, Joel, I mean, we were all still going through puberty at this time.
In the midst
of puberty, and there is a moment where Joel's voice breaks.
Yeah, like I think you actually hear my balls drop on stage. It is so noticeable. It sort of reverberated around the room. It was,
for what I'd feel for you.
Yeah, it was so bad. I'm quite proud of myself of how I handled it, because it was quite embarrassing, and I remember being very hyper aware of it when it happened. But you know, the show must go on.
The show must go on.
And aside from that little moment, I actually think I've improved as a singer from Hairspray.
Oh, by a long shot, yeah.
You can tell my confidence has grown in the time between.
Yeah.
But the thing that bothers me in those scenes where I am singing, and you know, there's supposed to be, you know, this sort of fatherly bond between Maurice and Belle. Obviously, when we were acting on stage together in Hairspray, we clicked.
Yeah.
And we had a chemistry and we have rapport. So it was really easy to kind of... There wasn't a whole huge amount, but you kind of got the sense that there was an intimate relationship there between us.
Yeah.
But again, because...
on and off stage.
Oh, yeah. But because Belle was obviously in demand, being the sort of the central figure of the story.
Yeah.
Because she was so in demand when we were doing rehearsals, we didn't really get much time to sort of hang out and build on that chemistry. And we got on, and you know, like the actress is absolutely lovely, but I don't think because that sort of rapport was lacking, those intimate moments just don't come across as well.
Yeah.
And then there was a night, so just before this song starts, there's like an entrance and there's a little like musical ditty where I kind of wheel on this.
Oh, it's your character's introduction.
Yeah. Where I wheel on this. You probably know the story, but you know, I wheel on this invention, and at first it doesn't work, and then it does.
Yeah.
The invention itself was a bit naff because it was just a crank and a propeller, and that you could clearly just see me cranking. But there was so at that point on the stage there is a fountain set piece, which during the song we will move over to and sit on for a part of the song while we're singing. But there was one time where I came on with the cart, and I don't know whether the fountain wasn't centered or if I just went too far with the cart. But the cart and the fountain set pieces collided with like an absolute almighty thump.
Yeah.
And I genuinely thought I'd broken one of them.
Oh no.
And I'd knocked the fountain out of place, that it was almost like sort of 90 degrees out of place.
Yeah.
So I remember when it came time in the song to sort of to sit on the fountain, I just kind of pushed my bum out a bit and just pushed it back into place with my ass. Like no one's going to notice. And then sit down and that's better.
Wasn't there another issue on stage with you?
There was. It was the scene where I get carried off.
In the tavern?
In the tavern,
yeah.
Yeah. So, for context, at the end of the Gaston song in the tavern, obviously Maurice comes in talking about the beast and wanting to save Belle, and they all just think he's mad. And so how we choreographed it was like, oh yeah, we'll help you. And then in the cartoon, Maurice is just shoved out of the door, but obviously we can't do that with the limitations we have on stage. So 4 lads would carry me off. Now, I remember at least 3 of the people that carried me off. All really good actors, and the one dancer in particular.
Yes.
So they would carry me off this side of the stage. But in the wings, there was this sort of scaffolding. We didn't really use it much. I don't think we used it for anything. But there was this scaffolding. And so sort of in the centre of the wing is this pole that's holding up this scaffolding. And usually, that sort of exit would go off without a hitch. And then this one night, one lad goes one side of the pole, and one lad goes the other side with both of my legs. And I can see what's coming, but because I'm in character, and in that moment I'm supposed to be shouting, like, no, stop. They thought I was still in character. So I'm shouting, no, stop, like, please, no, stop. And they went with quite some force into this pole. My went, like, inside me. And there was a very loud, audible yelp.
Yeah, because your mic was still on.
Mic.
And I remember being backstage, and I remember hearing the, oh!
And there was a teacher in the wings, like, sort of, like, the main drama teacher was kind of like, you know, sort of stage manager, but there was always a teacher posted at each wing, just to kind of run their section. And she was at no help at all, just absolutely herself laughing. And I remember someone later on, it might have actually been who was playing the Beast, came up to me sort of it was either in the interval or afterwards, I forget.
Yeah.
And was like, "Oh, that little scene was really good. Your screams seemed really, really, really real this time." And I was like, "Yeah, that's because my balls got crushed.
I wasn't acting."
Yeah, that was real. But yeah, looking back, it was funny. At the time, it was painful. But yeah, that was great.
Well, speaking of the Beast.
So
the actor who played the Beast in this was the same actor who played Seaweed in Hairspray. And I've written down a note on this. It has his name in it, but I'm not going to say his name.
Call him Andy.
Just for I'll call him Andy. So I put, at least Andy wasn't black this time.
But, weirdly enough, he still had to put masses of face paint on.
Yeah, to look like the Beast. So he still had to have all that makeup on him. And I think acting-wise, I thought he played the Beast quite well.
Yeah, he out of all the lads that auditioned, I think he was definitely the better choice.
Still a dreadful singer.
Yeah, that had not improved at all.
No.
Again, by his own admission.
Yeah.
And I actually think the chemistry between himself and Belle was really nice. They fit together really well. They really looked the part.
Yeah.
Actually, that's a point, speaking of their chemistry. We're talking about this kind of out of order and jumping around, but I suppose that doesn't really matter. There was one of the show nights, the actress who was Belle found out that they hadn't got into the drama school that they'd applied for.
I remember this.
And were really upset.
Yeah.
And then, to cheer her up, I think it was the teacher, or it was somebody, had bought some penis-shaped spaghetti or pasta. And then during the Beauty and the Beast scene, where, you know, it's all romantic and they're supposed to be dancing, they come onto stage, they sit down to dinner, Mrs. Potts starts singing, and then they get up and they dance, and they put the penis pasta.
Were they sweets?
Oh, they might have been sweets, yeah. But they put this penis-shaped food stuffs in the bowl to make them laugh and sort of cheer up a bit.
Yeah.
They very nearly broke character. They were like sort of doing the dance and sort of giggling, and you can kind of hear snickering over the mic. But it was quite a sweet moment, and you know, like if you know the wider context, it is quite sweet.
Yeah.
But you know, power to both of them for avoiding fits of laughter on stage. Yeah. That was really good.
And that scene was actually done quite well. The Tale as Old as Time.
Yeah, that was one of the more. I'm watching it back, and that's actually quite beautiful. Like for a school production.
Yeah,
that looks really good.
I don't know why I was on that stage though. I was literally in the corner, and I'm just standing there.
Yeah, you didn't need to be there.
I had like one line where I think she goes, "Dance with me," and he's like, "No," and I go, "Dance with her." I didn't really say it like that, but yeah, I was just there. But apart from that, I thought the scene was good.
There are a handful of moments where people are just there, and I think why, especially Chip.
Oh my god!
Chip is in this little trolley. With their head poking through into like a little cup-shaped hat.
Yeah.
Oh, weird balaclava.
Annoying little
Smash him. But there's so many times, especially in the big sequences like Human Again, Be Our Guest, where people are required to take centre stage and sing and dance, and so Chip just gets left on the side of the stage, unable to wheel themselves, and just kind of bopping their head at the top of this little trolley. Be our guest, bob my head and be our guest.
The young little actor who played Chip, right? I'm not saying Chip was a little shit. I'm saying the actor was a little shit. There's a moment where she... Oh, what is it? Something that says... Like, her and these other characters, they're trying to convince Mrs. Potts that they've seen Belle. And they're like, oh, there's a girl in the castle. And she's like, oh, don't be silly. And Chip says, but there is. We saw her. And I'm in the wing thinking, why is she American? Chip's Cockney. Mm-hmm. Like his mum. And that was another thing.
Yeah.
The actress who was playing Mrs. Potts...
Yes.
I think it was during one of the rehearsals. I said to her, oh, yeah, you're gonna have to put on a Cockney accent. Mrs. Potts is in Cockney. I went...
Yeah,
no, I'm pretty sure she is. And she was like, no, she's not. And then it was during the scene, the teacher then went, you need to put a Cockney accent on.
I remember.
And I'm sat there watching, and I went, I went quite childish. I went, I told you. And she was like,
It doesn't come across as Cockney, though, in the actual... I think she sounds more Welsh. Be our guest.
So, Mrs. Potts is Welsh, Chip's American, for some reason.
Yeah. Lumiere's German.
God.
And little known secret.
Mm-hmm.
Belle is Canadian.
Shall we tell the famous story?
Let's give this fine young man a name, because we kind of need to refer... Brian. Okay, Brian works.
Okay. Do you want to tell it?
I think you tell it better than I do, to be honest.
Okay.
But I'll give you the context and then you can deliver.
Yes.
So, there was this young lad called Brian who wanted really badly to be part of the production, but he didn't want to act. He kind of wanted to be more stagehand, that kind of thing, and just kind of help out. And I'm not quite sure what it was, but he was, on the spectrum. And let's say, to kind of put it gently, had clearly gone through some things.
There were certainly signs of autism.
Yeah, and he was a lovely kid, absolutely lovely kid. But sometimes he'd kind of say something that was a bit out of pocket or a bit odd, and sometimes he had a habit of making people feel a little bit uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Anyway, but nice kid, and as well, we had a little kind of stereo on wheels. So when we didn't have the orchestra, we kind of had the backing tracks to rehearse to.
Yeah.
And quite often, somebody from the cast would take charge of hitting play when the teacher was directing and people were up on stage. And you, I, and the Beast had quite the habit of sort of hanging around together around that part of the room.
Yeah, we did, yeah.
And I think when this story begins, I'd gone to the back of the hall because I needed to get something from my bag. Mm. And they were rehearsing the scene in which Gaston and LeFou first enter.
Yes.
Where Gaston shoots is it a duck?
Yeah.
Shoots a duck and it falls from the sky. So Brian's big moment was going up onto the balcony, up to the top of the hall, and throwing the duck
off the balcony.
Balcony for Gaston and LeFou to catch. So, as Joe was saying, the Beast and I were sat next to where the stereo is while they're rehearsing this scene, and him and I are just sort of chatting amongst ourselves quietly. But then I noticed for quite a while the Beast was staring up at the balcony towards Brian, and I said, "Why do you keep staring at Brian for?" And he went, "He's on the balcony." I went, "Yeah, he has to. It's his job to throw the duck off the balcony for Gaston to get." He went, "Have you not heard the story?" I said, "No, what?" And he went, "He once went to hospital because he jumped off a brick wall because he thought he was Superman." Yeah, not good.
Which then led to both me and the Beast staring up at Brian.
And then I recall walking over and seeing you both staring up. So it's sort of that sort of moment of sort of groupthink, where it's like you Beast is staring and then you're staring, and I come over and go, "What are you looking at? What are you both looking at so intently?"
No, your exact words were, "Why are you both staring at Brian?"
I believe that is the case.
And then we told you the story.
Yeah, and then suddenly
I'm
staring.
Was staring up, and because the Beast
out of concern.
Yeah, and because the Beast had to make sure to press play on the stereo for this song to play for this scene, he missed the cue, and everyone on stage is going, "What are you doing? You missed the cue!" And he's like, "Oh shit, I'm sorry, sorry."
We got in trouble for worrying about the welfare of one of our fellow creatives.
Yeah, I honestly, I was really, throughout that whole production, I was genuinely worried he was going to jump off that balcony.
Yeah, I remember a lot. Sort of, we had a room that we would kind of hang out in when we weren't rehearsing, and the hall where the production was happening was kind of in use.
Yeah,
we would hang out in this one room, and he was, it was an open door. As far as I was concerned, it was an open door that anyone who was even in the musical or in any of the drama classes, or even just vaguely interested, come in, chat. We'd hang out, chill, talk about shows. It was nice. It was fun.
Yeah.
But Brian would often just kind of appear outside at the window and staring at us. Or on occasion he might put a stick through the window.
Oh yeah, he'd poke a stick through, wouldn't he?
Yeah.
He'd like poke people.
Yeah, and that was kind of my first impression of him. And then obviously the further development that there had been a hospitalisation from jumping from a high place.
Yeah.
Really did, concern me. And so it was sort of like I think it was a collective moment where we were just kind of like, we need to look after this kid's welfare.
Yeah.
And then
thankfully, just to say, he didn't jump off the balcony.
Woo!
And he was fine.
And that throwing of the duck was marvellous.
Oh yeah, he did it very well.
Absolutely
very well.
Marvellous. But yeah, I can't believe we got in trouble for just staring up at this poor child with
this
a
poor
duck.
Kid. Who we were genuinely concerned about.
Yeah.
Oh, there was another incident. I believe it was under the stage. There was another kid who. So, just to give a bit more context, that one of the kids had Down syndrome.
Okay.
Very sweet lad.
He was really lovely.
Yes.
Charming.
Yeah, very
really
charming. Yes. And I don't know what happened, but he turned to another child and punched him in the face.
Oh dear. I don't remember this.
No, and because this lad, he doesn't know his own strength. He was a very big lad. He must have done it with some force.
Yeah.
Because this other lad who'd been punched, was in floods of tears. He had a very clear red mark on his face, and then the teacher dealt with it very appropriately. She wasn't shouting because he has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
You have to deal with it very
Delicately,
carefully.
yeah.
Very delicately. And I'm looking at this kid who'd been punched in the face. And the red, it was red. It was as red as a tomato.
Yeah.
And he's crying, and then the teacher's calmly, but still quite strictly talking to the lad with Down syndrome, saying, like, you can't do that, you can't. Yeah. If someone's doing something wrong, you need to come and tell us. You can't take matters into your own hands. And I'm there, so whenever he came to talk to me, I was quite scared.
Oh no.
I was like, if I say the wrong thing, I might get decked.
Oh no. I was not aware that had happened. That was that during a show night, or was it during a rehearsal?
I think it was during but it was before one of the performances.
Okay.
So I think it was while we were setting everything up.
Yeah. I have a recollection of this individual.
Yeah.
Where we had, in our school, we had a lot of LSAs. I can't remember what it stands for. Learning something assistant.
Learning support.
There you go, learning support assistant. And we had a lot of them involved in the show, either just to help out or, to support someone involved in the show, like this person.
Who had a learning difficulties.
Even myself, because obviously my condition with my legs, someone on hand just kind of to sort of liaise with me if I needed anything. But,
if anyone's wondering about that, because I don't think we've addressed that.
No, I have cerebral palsy.
Yeah.
Just for clarification. So my, doing something quite physically strenuous as doing a full-on show could have quite a severe effect on my legs. Thankfully, it didn't. Not too bad. I always took a few days off after show days just to kind of recover, but it was never too bad. But there were a lot of LSAs, and I remember two of them in particular didn't get on, but they would, they'd remain professional.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, being around the LSAs a lot, I kind of picked up on a lot of this stuff.
Right. Yeah.
So they didn't get on, but they would remain professional and civil. But there was one instance where it was during a show night. Now, at this point, when Be Our Guest was on, I was very much off stage. I can't remember, is Gaston and the tavern scene in the first act?
I believe so.
Yeah. So once I get carried off stage after the tavern, I'm not in it until the second act, which was quite an extended break.
Yeah.
Now, I quite loved that, and I'll get back to why in a moment. But, I kind of got to witness everyone panicking and stressing. Oh, it's Be Our Guest soon. It's Be Our Guest. Oh.
Yeah.
And everyone like getting into the costumes and dressing up as plates and cutlery and napkins and stressing out. And I was just chilling, just being like, hello. But this, I'm going to call him Dennis, just for the sake of
the lad with Down syndrome. Yeah.
So Dennis didn't do very good at remembering his cues.
Yeah.
But we wanted to be inclusive, so his LSA was kind of responsible for cueing him. Mm-hmm. This LSA also had a habit of just watching the show through the door and just kind of zoning out and not really paying attention. So this one particular night, totally fudged it, and Dennis missed his cue. And it also happened to be the night in which his family had come to see the show.
No!
And he was so proud of Be Our Guest. He was so excited to show his family, this big set piece and him being part of it, and he missed his cue. And the other LSA that was kind of assigned to me figured out what had happened, because Dennis was kind of sort of in the changing rooms upset, and I kind of went in and went, shouldn't you be on, and you're crying, and sort of worked out what happened. So I kind of told my LSA, I was like, this kind of needs sorting, because he's really upset. So I kind of had to kind of coax him out of the guy's changing room and just be like, do you want to come talk? And the LSA's got into a full-on row in the corridor over him missing his cue, to the point that one of the LSAs was like so angry and shaking, she was crying as well, and I was kind of sat between them, just being like, this is a nice break.
I mean, I was about to say I don't remember this, but obviously I was on stage during this.
You were doing Be Our Guest.
I was doing Be Our Guest.
Yeah, and I felt so bad for Dennis. It was just poor kid. He was so excited.
Oh my God.
Yeah. That was I used to love that little break that I had, and it got ruined because of some LSA drama. But on that little break, if you remember, on the sort of more frequently used side of the stage, where the changing rooms were and the main entrance to kind of under the stage and onto the wing, there was a fire door that we would keep propped open. Mm-hmm. In case anybody needed to go out for some air. Because, being under the lights and moving and dancing around a lot in those costumes, it got really, really hot.
Yeah.
And we were performing in, like, sort of late spring as well, so it wasn't exactly cool.
Yeah.
So they had this door propped open, so if at any point anyone needed to go out and just get a bit of air and get some cool breeze on their face, they could go outside. Which worked for me absolutely brilliantly. Because I would finish the tavern scene, I would go under the stage, into the changing rooms, just as everyone's kind of filing out, prepping for Be Our Guest. So I'd be alone in the changing rooms. I'd go into my bag, I'd take out a cigarette, and then I'd stand in the changing rooms waiting for the music cue for everyone to be going into the hall and onto the stage for Be Our Guest, where that corridor was completely unsupervised. As soon as it was clear, I would beeline out of that fire door and have a cigarette. And then by the time it's finished, I kind of hear the song sort of reaching its crescendo. Time to go back. Put my cigarette out, back into the changing rooms and wait, and everyone would come in and be like, that was so tired. Like, well done, guys. I was definitely watching you all. Yeah. That was because when we'd have like the interval as well, and then again, I wasn't on stage until sort of halfway through the second act. So it was a real nice extended little break that I had.
Do you remember the Cannibal Girl?
The character?
No. The actor.
I think I have a vague memory. Do tell.
So it was the day when the company that the school ordered, all the sets and costumes from, they dropped it all off just in front of the school entrance. So we all went out to help bring it all in.
Yes.
And while we are like holding these very heavy set pieces, this girl starts biting our hands. And we're like, fuck off, you little
Just drop the set on her.
just fuck you. Thing is, we at first we were politely saying, no, don't do that. Like you shouldn't bite people, and plus these are very heavy. Oh no, that didn't faze her at all. She's still going
Like some rabid dog.
Precious. And then to the point, one of the other girls had a go at her.
Didn't she leave teeth marks on someone? Now that I remember,
I think it might have been the guy who played Gaston.
Poor guy.
Oh, and another incident with him. The person who played Chip. I could be wrong. It might have been someone else. But she went up to him, grabbed his hair, and just yanked him.
Why?
After his hair had already been done for Gaston.
Oh, God, no.
So he had to have it redone.
Redone.
And it's just like, why are you people still in this?
Yeah. Feral.
Very feral. Yeah, very feral.
While we're back on the subject of Gaston as well, I remember there was a point where Gaston had to restart a song.
Now I have no memory of this. I think it's because I was backstage and I didn't notice any
I was
of it.
on stage for the song, but sort of off in the wing and didn't really have much to do, and I was kind of waiting for my exit to kind of slip out.
So what happened?
The first line, through the mist, through the woods, through the darkness and the shadows, it's exciting.
Don't sing the whole thing, we'll get sued.
Yeah, well, I think because a lot of the lines have a very similar sort of rhythm and sort of pitch and tone and sort of they flow very similarly. I think he muddled up a line and sang like the same line 3 times or something like that. Right. But, like, poor guy, sort of slip of the tongue. He was very, very professional about it. He just quietly sort of piped up, sort of stopped the orchestra and said, "Can we take that from the top?" And there was like a moment of pause while everyone kind of like sort of went sort of mentally back to the beginning of the scene. And then he cued the orchestra, started again, and it was handled really, really well. I remember Gaston being very sort of embarrassed about it and being really, really upset. But people are bound to make mistakes on stage. It always happens.
Always happens.
You know, it's unavoidable. You know, if you've got a run of 7 shows, well, we had 5 shows. You know, if you've got a run of 5, was it 5 shows? I think maybe it was a run of 5.
Because there was a matinee as well, wasn't there?
Oh, yeah, there was, yeah. So, you know, you've got a run of 5 shows, and a lot of people in that show. Someone's going to slip up somewhere.
Yeah.
Bound to happen. But it's not necessarily about making the mistake in the first instance. It's about how you recover. And his professionalism in that moment really, really shined through. I always had, and I'm sure you'll agree, the highest respect for Gaston. He was a very, very good actor, a very, very good singer.
Yeah.
Amicable dancer. And he always approached his role and the cast around him with so much like sort of grace and respect and decorum, and was always very sort of sort of an upbeat, lively, sort of happy presence in the room. And so for that, I always had the highest respect for him. And I think when that happened and he slipped up and he just kind of handled the situation with so much grace, it just kind of was like, you are solid, and wish nothing but the best for him. It was fantastic.
Yeah, 100%.
Before I forget as well, LeFou was also equally fantastic. And that little chemistry between those two was so well done.
Yeah. It was well cast.
Yeah.
Very well cast.
It was a really well cast production. There was a couple of things that were like, but for the most part, I think it was probably better cast than Hairspray, but that's probably because they didn't have the race challenge to tackle. Yeah. You know, because most of you are dressed up as furniture.
Yeah. The ending was interesting.
The ending?
Yeah.
How come? Which?
So, when Gaston and the Beast have their final confrontation.
Yes.
And they have a bit of a fight. The whole time you can't see the Beast's face.
Yeah.
And it's because at that point they've taken his makeup off. Yeah. But he's still wearing the, what would you call it? The mane.
The mane.
And they have their fight. And Belle runs on and she's like, "Stop!" And Beast's like, "Get out! Oh, Belle, you can." Oh, as he delivers it in the film. Belle. And then Gaston jumps on him, stabs him, and in the film, the part of the castle breaks and Gaston falls to his death.
Yes.
But in this,
It's just a brisk backwards walk.
Yeah, the Beast just pushes him.
Yeah.
And Gaston runs off stage going, no!
Yeah. So in our canon, he's still alive.
Yeah.
Yeah. They could have done that better. I appreciate that must be a really, really hard thing to stage, especially for a school production.
Yeah.
Like, you can't really risk the safety of a child by kicking them off the stage or something onto a crash mat. There's so much red tape there.
There was still an issue with the mics as well.
Yeah.
Because once it was revealed that he's turned back into his human form, you can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah.
And the music's like overlaying him, like da, 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 da. And you can see his mouth moving.
Yeah.
You just can't hear what he's saying.
Yeah, I assume that in the costume change, or taking off the mane, it's dicked around with the mic a little bit. I also remember the Beast in that little fight sequence had a bit of was it a dodgy ankle or something? Yeah.
I can't remember.
But there's a point where Gaston's on the Beast's back.
Yeah, he jumps on him.
And he's taking the weight on one foot.
Oh.
Yeah. So power to Beast for getting through that.
Yeah. Oh my God, do you remember my hair?
But your hair was ridiculous.
I had to grow my hair to the point where I kind of looked like a mushroom.
Yeah, you did.
Because I was doing a film at the time.
Mon ami, my little mushroom.
9! The reason why I had such long hair was because at the same time of doing the show, I was working on a film. Now, I'm using quotation marks when I say film, but that's a topic for another episode.
I'd call it a travesty.
Yes. That's a topic for another time.
Yeah.
But that's why my hair was so long, and I had to keep that hair for like 2 years, and I hated it. Really hated it.
So did we. We had to look at it all the time.
It was just dreadful having that amount of hair and then having to wear the hat. I was constantly worrying that the hat was going to fall off.
Oh, yeah.
Because I couldn't get it to fit on my head.
Yeah, it did look a bit sort of off at points. How was it carrying the candles at all times and sort of kind of keeping your arms in that rigid...
Every now and then my arms got tired. But for the most part, it was fine. I mean, if my arms got tired and I knew I was going to go off stage soon, as soon as I got off stage, I'll just drop them and I know I can relax for a little bit. But it wasn't too bad.
I didn't envy you. I remember kind of watching you, especially when we were doing dress rehearsals and stuff. I would be kind of going over the same scenes over and over and over and over and over, and you just stood there with your arms straining.
Yeah,
feeling like I just want to put them down for a minute, and the moment like the scene would end and you'd be off stage or whatever, you'd put your arm and be like, oh, finally.
I remember I was told I wasn't allowed to turn the candles on. Why? Because there was a risk that they would overheat.
And set you on fire.
And set on fire.
Then you really would have looked like a candle.
So I wasn't allowed to turn them on, which I was a bit annoyed by.
Now we have another paramedic.
No.
I don't remember a paramedic being in the Beast's castle.
In France, in this day and age.
Look, there she goes. It's the paramedic.
Get him down to the hospital.
Did you break your own mic?
That wasn't for Beauty and the Beast.
Was that not?
That was for another show.
Okay.
But I will tell the story.
Do tell. I thought it was Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah, there was another show that I was doing. I think it was round about the same time. And it was a variety show. And there was a moment where I have to run on, and I'm doing this scene from a film. I think it was from American Psycho. And I run on.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah. And I run on, I fall to the floor, and I slide against this wall. But as I fell, my mic fell off of my tracksuit bottoms and hit the stage. So I'm surprised the mic still worked. And I did the scene, did the show, and I went to the sound guy afterwards, and I went, "I'm so sorry, like it fell off my bottoms." And he went, "No worries, it's fine." And he opened it, and the entire inside was shattered.
Oh God!
And I was like, "Oh my God! Like, if I have to pay for it, he's like, no, don't worry, it's fine." I'm like, "How the hell did the mic still work?" And he went, "I don't know. I'm just as confused as you are."
Yeah. Well, didn't we have? I don't know if it was the same case for that show, but I know we had sort of stage mics.
Yes.
As in like some mics at the front of the stage that were pointing so that it would pick up the ensemble and other people as a backup plan. So maybe that's why we can still hear you.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But yeah, I thought it was Beauty and the Beast. Tank.
Oh my god. So we had to lift up. There were moments where we had to lift up Gaston's throne, or is just this giant chair,
like moving the set around and things.
And whenever we did, for some reason, we'd always go tank as we lifted, trying to pretend to be strong.
Just men being men, just showing off how strong we are.
Just men being men. And I believe there was one time I'd hurt myself while we were lifting it, and I went tank. Oh no! Wait! Okay, now tank.
Made yourself look like a rat, didn't you?
Oh, I did. I certainly did. Oh, again, speaking of doing bits for a show that are kind of inappropriate for students, there was the sexual tension between Lumiere and Babette.
Yes.
Yeah, because there were certainly moments where there was a scene where she comes on, and I'm like, Babette, come to me, my little flower!
Yeah. Yeah, it's that, ooh.
And
Lumiere!
And there was a moment where she gets a feather and she's like stroking down from my chest towards my penis area. And I'm just there going, oh yeah!
Oh, Lumiere!
I mean, I've got to be honest. I was kind of getting a bit of a boner in those moments.
Yeah. And let's not beat around the bush. She wasn't exactly unattractive either.
Well, let's just looking back. I'm like, I don't think we should have done it like that.
No, maybe not. Maybe not. You as a horny teenager.
I mean, yeah. I mean, weren't we all?
Yeah. Funnily enough, do you remember the other duster?
Oh yeah.
I think I briefly had a bit of a thing for her.
Yeah. Let's put the blanket over him and then dust him down.
No, Lumiere. Oh.
Heil beast.
Wasn't Babette a shared role?
Yeah, so they added. I think that's why they added the other duster just to give this student a role to play in the show. It was the same with the wardrobe, and they shared some of her lines with another student.
Yeah, and the sugar bowl.
And the sugar. Oh yeah, the sugar bowl. Yeah. But oh my god, the girl who played the character who was sharing the lines with the wardrobe was awful. Like I mean,
the younger one.
Yeah. To say her acting was wooden would be a
funny she's made.
Pun intended.
Button. Oh, Lumiere!
Like she'd come on, and the wardrobe's like, I was once. You're right.
Sorry, just laughing at my own hilarious joke.
Like the wardrobe would go, I was once beautiful, but now look at me. And then this girl who was tearing her parts was like, yeah, I had these dreams, but now look at me.
I'm draws.
I'm acting. Like it was just painful.
Yeah.
I think the teacher even got annoyed by it. It's like, you just look like you don't care.
Mm-hmm. There were a fair few people like that across all the productions we did.
I mean, there was the girl who face planted the concrete.
What?
So one of the girls... No, it might not have been... Well, she might have been in Beauty and the Beast, but I know she was in Hairspray as well. There was a time when we were outside of the school. It was during school hours. And I was having my lunch. And behind me, all I heard was just a really loud... And I turn, and this girl who was in both shows, she was standing on one of those metal benches. She must have tripped and fell. Oh. And I mean, face planted the concrete. And I'm like, oh, And like teachers are running over to her. She wasn't crying or anything. Like she got up, her face was just emotionless.
Mashed.
No, it was just emotionless.
Oh God!
But it was red. It was as red as mine.
As red as your what?
No, I won't finish that sentence.
As red as your what?
No. Oh,
I've totally lost my train of thought. Oh, yeah. Sorry. That Easter break was really good. Do you remember?
Oh, we used to always meet up. Yeah.
We had like the Easter break sort of just before show week.
Yeah.
And, like we had a few rehearsals during the Easter break, but we all met up. Like a lot of the cast. There was like yourself, me, Cogsworth, Mrs. Potts, the wardrobe.
It was a very nice outside.
The Beast, Gaston, LeFou. And, you know, it was a really nice sort of late
outside
spring,
area, yeah.
nice place outside, and we'd all meet up, and I think that was probably the most intimate cast I think I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, I mean, certain people would be a little shady at times, just with saying certain things. I remember there was one person in particular, I think it was during Beauty and the Beast, and overall, she was a nice person for the most part, but every now and then, she'd be a bit of a and she'd go, I can't watch Hairspray anymore. It scarred me.
Scarred?
And I'm like, grow up, love. Like, we did this show. It was a lot of fun. The film is still a lot of fun.
Yeah, just the thing is, we're all in the same boat. You know, we're all getting up on a stage and you know, wearing stupid clothes and stuff like that. So, like, you know, we're all in the same boat. And the thing is, I don't rewatch stuff very often. I know it might be an over-exaggeration to say, but you tend to be more nostalgic than I do. You're more willing to rewatch your own work, whereas I am very much resistant to it. How many times have you been like, let's watch Hairspray, and I'm like, let's not, you know?
Oh, well, first of all, that impression, on point.
Yeah, exactly. But, you know, it's even though I don't necessarily rewatch them that often, I still look back on it with such a fondness, and it was so much fun.
Yeah.
I feel like we're all in the same boat. It would sadden me to think that somebody had such a negative experience of it, I think.
Yeah.
But
I definitely think some people didn't have as good of an experience as we did.
Yeah, possibly not, but I think we did kind of form that core group. There was that sort of the same familiar faces who would kind of do every show, and always be in that room, and we were definitely two of those people.
Definitely, yeah. I remember trying to recapture. I mean, you'll know when we were at uni. I remember really wanting to recapture that feeling that we had at school doing these shows. And I put on a variety show, and one of the acts was a song that Gaston sings from Beauty and the Beast.
Yes.
I was Gaston, and I cast some other people to play the other characters, and it was just
Yeah, didn't quite.
It just
hit the mark.
Didn't work out.
Yeah.
And some of the other people who I got involved in this show were people from the school version of Beauty and the Beast.
Yeah.
And they just didn't care. They just didn't give a shit.
Yeah.
And that was a shame. And that at the time, it really upset me. Like, it really depressed me. But, you know, it's always nice to look back at that time. And yeah, even though there were certain issues throughout, like, overall,
it was kind of lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
It was such a good time. The cast was great and all really kind of close and tight-knit, and it was such a fun experience. And I remember specifically that Easter break as well. You know, the sun would shine and we'd be out and the breeze would be lovely, and, you know, we're all together and we're all having a laugh and a good time.
Yeah.
And I genuinely think that is probably not the happiest I've been in my life, but it is one of the fondest periods. You know, that little brief window of 2 weeks that I look back on quite a lot and go, that was so good. I don't think we realised how good we had it, and look at us now.
No.
But no, it was really nice. It was really nice. I also remember it was sort of when Vine was sort of hitting its peak, and we'd make Vines a lot.
And they were terrible.
They were really bad.
None of them were good.
No, not one.
No.
Do you have a preference over the two roles? From Edna to Lumiere?
Edna.
I'd say Wilbur. That's nice.
Yeah.
That's cute. I think in Beauty and the Beast, I'm definitely a better actor.
Yes.
But Wilbur is the better role.
Yeah. Like, could you imagine us playing them now?
We'd be so much better.
We would.
We'd be so much better. If anyone's doing a production of Hairspray, cast us.
Let us know. Please get in touch.
Yeah.
We gladly audition.
Yeah. We've got a great tape to show you.
Yeah. I think... I'm so glad that we have come together and we got to talk about this on the show, because it just kind of made sense, really.
Yeah. It's where we began.
It is where we began.
And it really was. Both shows were such a crucial thing in my life.
Yeah.
And really kind of shaped how I moved forward, both as an actor and as a person.
Yeah.
It was a really good time. It was a really formative time. And again, I said it when we finished sort of rapping, talking about Hairspray, but those moments don't come around too often, those kind of productions. And, you know, if you're doubting whether you should do it or not, or for whatever reason sort of being tentative about whether you should enter into a group of amateur dramatics or do the school show, just do it.
Absolutely.
Just do it, because you will never know what kind of bonds you'll form, what things you'll learn about yourself.
The memories you'll
make. It is so important, and I would encourage anybody who has that opportunity to absolutely take it.
100%. And if you're somebody listening who has been in school shows and has enjoyed that process and has made friendships, let us know in the comments. Tell us your story.
Yeah, we'd love to hear how yours went.
Yeah.
If you've got any stories about any flubs on stage, we'd love to hear those, because we've got our fair share.
We've got our fair share, definitely. Guys, thank you so much for listening to today's episode.
We appreciate it so much.
If you're not already, you can subscribe to our channel, as well as follow us on Instagram and Twitter, where you can be given all the updates and be notified when episodes are up.
And if you're really, really good, we might even drop a few photos from the shows.
Absolutely. Definitely keep an eye on our Instagram and Twitter for those. So we will see you guys next week.
Take care.
Take care, my loves.